Hey everybody, how's it going? Ryan here from Flux, and we have a special guest joining us today, Alex Tyink, the inventor, Alex Tyink, the inventor, founder, president from Fork Farms, here to talk about his process inventing the Fork Farm. As here at Flux, we always try to explore careers, and he's got a really cool story with something that he invented called the Fork Farm Flex Farm. Alex, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks, Ryan.
And Alex, we were really impressed with the Fork Farm Flex Farm. So first off, how did you think of such a cool idea?
Well, it happened, Ryan, when I was living in New York City. I grew up in Wisconsin, believe it or not, went to school, and then moved out there to sing opera, of all things. So I don't know how many of your viewers are into opera, but if they haven't listened to it ever, highly recommend they check it out.
We don't have many, so that percentage is probably pretty small.
It's all right. It doesn't surprise me. So it was actually my first career. I learned pretty quickly that it just wasn't for me, and I think that's really okay, because I ended up finding something that I love and I'm really passionate about, and it happened completely by chance for me. I met a guy who was growing food on a rooftop. And I don't know, I had no idea what that was. I had never seen anything like it before. Rooftop farming, it's a type of urban farming, right? People growing in cities as opposed to out in farmland. Totally new concept for me. And it really blew me away, and I just decided to volunteer for a farm for a summer, and it was a nonprofit farm, and they were growing a bunch of food for a food pantry that it was on the first floor of the building that was on the rooftop. And I thought that was just a really cool, hey, we're going to grow it, and then we're going to feed people who are hungry, that are in need. And it was something, I was between operas, so I had some time, so I decided to do this. And at the end of the summer, they let me eat some of the food that I had grown, which I had never done before. And man, if that food just didn't taste so much better than any other produce I had ever had before. And I don't know why, man. It just really came down to, I think when you grow food, you have more love and sweat and energy that you've put into it. And because of that, you just appreciate it so much more, and it just tastes so much better.
So you had the rooftop garden experience. What kind of then realized that this was like a business opportunity, or did you see it as a business opportunity, or what was the process of inventing the actual flex farm or the vertical garden hydroponic system that you have today?
Yeah, great question. The whole impetus behind the idea came from, I wanted to help other people have that same experience that I had had. I grew my own food, ate my own food, it tasted way better. I started eating better, I started feeling better. It set me down a better life path, if you will. And I really felt strongly that this was something that more people should be able to do. And so I started building different systems in New York for different schools, food pantries, nonprofits, companies, whoever wanted to do it. And the problem I ran into was that the cost of growing the food was so high, because you're using artificial lights kind of in a horizontal tiered approach, or these tower type systems with plants growing outside of them with the lights. And those systems, they grow plants fine, but they're pretty energy inefficient, pretty labor inefficient. They just cost a lot of money to run. So I thought to myself, if this is going to be something that a lot of people want to do and can do, they want to feed people doing it, it has to be more scalable, and it has to be more deployable, right? It has to be more accessible to everybody. So, I'm not an engineer, Ryan, and so it took a lot of trial and error and a lot of learning along the way, and I had to really self-teach myself. It was a lot of reading textbooks and watching YouTube videos and reaching out to different people that I could find that knew about it, and just asking them if they would help me. Some said no, some said yes. And it took a little over 3 years, but I stumbled into this idea, really simple idea, that if you put the right kind of light in the middle of the right type of reflective surfaces, you can get this little algorithm on the amount of light intensity and the distance to the plant and the spacing of the plant and all that to really optimize that grow environment. And you can use more than 50% less energy than everybody else that's out there. And so that was like a big eureka moment for me. Like, oh my gosh, now we can grow food for significantly less energy than what's ever been done before. And that's really when I decided, yeah, we might have something here, and got a patent, and that was really when it all started.
No, that's awesome, man. It's a great kind of concept, and what we do at the STEAM Challenges is, you try to look around the world around you or from your own experiences, and these cool things that could happen that could bring innovations and essentially change the world, right? For either more sustainability or more access for people or things that would help somebody's life, right? So this is really cool. And talk a little bit about how you started from like the prototypes, and then behind you is the beautiful Gen 4, right? So there's 3 versions of that before you landed on it, right? So how long did it take you to get to Gen 4? Because I think that's a pretty cool story, right? It's not just going to happen tomorrow, but through this process of trial and error and design thinking and figuring out and research, that fits perfectly with what we're doing. But how long did it take you to kind of invent the Generation 4, and what did that process look like if you go a little deeper in that?
Yeah, great question. So when I had the initial idea of just trying to create an indoor farming system that's more efficient, I bought every grow light at the time that had ever been made, and I bought like all sorts of different parts of material that would allow me to configure things differently. And I tried probably about 30 to 35 different system prototypes before I landed on the ultimate design form factor, if you will, right? Like the kind of idea of growing in around those reflective panels.
How many years or how long did it take you to kind of come up with Generation 4? Where are you at in the process right now?
Well, I think the whole thing started in 2010. It was like a 3-year run, 30 plus prototypes to get to the initial form factor. Generation 1, which was made out of stainless steel, launched in around 2014, 2015. Before that, I was making the initial Flex farm out of wood and garbage bags in my garage. Yep. These little plant pipes that stick out, I actually would cut PVC pipe at an angle and glue it onto other plastic, right? I mean, it was really dumbed down, but it proved the concept and it proved it out. First manufacturing we did, again, was in stainless steel. We did 8 of those. Generation 1 is kind of a field test, proof of concept. This was a brand new idea to grow food at this scale, right? And I didn't know if it would work or not, if people would be interested in it, but it exploded. We gave the first one away, and then from there, just people started calling, asking for it. So that's when I kind of knew, wow, we might have something here. It was in 2017, early 2017, that we launched Generation 2, which was the first model that was done in recyclable plastics. And that really started to kick things off. We really kind of started the company under its current formation that year. Brought in our first investment that year. So things really started to move. And then in early 2019 was when we launched Generation 3, which was the first unit that was ground shippable. So every step along the way, we just were trying to make it easier for people. We call it lowering barriers to entry, right? We want to lower the barriers that people have to enter into the farming space. And so for us, it's just been a lot of listening to our customers, who we call partners, because we really do treat them like partners, right? Like, we want to learn from them. We want to take really good care of them. We want them to teach us just as much as we're teaching them. And through that process, we've basically kept the same core of the technology, the same energy efficiency, water efficiency, land efficiency, all of that hasn't changed too much from generation to generation, but really what we've gotten good at is making it easier and easier to use, easier and easier to set up, and to maintain over time. And now the Generation 4 we actually launched this year in June, and we've shipped more Generation 4 units than we did Generation 3, 2, and 1 combined.
It's awesome. Yeah, and your point about it being easy in entry, we appreciate the system that you sent to us, and we're on like the 5th grow right now with our Gen 4 Flex Farm, and the fact that I can grow food in there and keep it alive is should speak for itself. So everybody here has enjoyed the lettuce of the labor, if you will, and it was delicious, and we're doing awesome with it. So you did really make it pretty easy for anybody to grow lettuce indoors all year round. So we applaud you for that, and we're excited about what else we're going to be able to grow in it. So that's awesome, man. So yeah, and before you used some pretty cool terms like prototyping, and it didn't look pretty, but you got the concept done, right? And I think that's what we really want to push here at Flux through these STEAM challenges and even STEM education in general, is that moment of trial and error. It doesn't have to look pretty, doesn't even have to necessarily be working, but the idea that you're able to use the maker movement to create something to get your idea across or to test some component is real encouraging, I think, for the young inventors out there to kind of go through and make and tinker with things. So appreciate you sharing that story, which is awesome. So where do you see like Fork Farms now in the future? It's a lot of F's there. Where do you see the Fork Farm, Flex Farm in the future? We know that your goal is the more local, sustainable, hyper food, fresh food production, all of that. So if you can explain, what your main goal and vision would be and how you're going to be able to move forward with that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ryan, it's partnerships with Flux and things like that help this along in a huge way. But we're becoming a global brand. We shipped our first units to Canada earlier this year. We've got units going to Spain and the UK now. So that really is starting to get out there into the rest of the world. We're in about half of the states in the U.S. now. There's over 6.
Ukraine, is that where they have the iceberg lettuce?
No, the UK, like United Kingdom, like England.
Oh.
Yeah.
I tried to joke about Ukraine.
like ice lettuce, yeah.
I'm getting the thumbs down.
Yeah.
Camera. I took a chance on that one.
That's all right. I appreciated it, but we're both dads, so that's like dad humor. So.
Lettuce, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I apologize.
No, we're good. So, I just think our goal is to keep meeting the needs that people have. People call us, they want to work with us and partner with us. So how do we be as best of a partner as we possibly can? And I think the way that we do that is we keep developing supportive, exclusive content that comes with our system, right? Things that you can do with our thing that you can't do it with anything else. Activities, seeds and different cool varieties of stuff that people can grow, different ways of providing food to your community and to your neighbors and other folks, ways to interconnect and talk to other fork farmers across the world. We really want to make it an immersive and fun experience, and something that it's not like you try it once and you're like, oh, that was cool, but something where it's really easy to stay engaged long term, which we've really found is the vast majority of placements that we've got.
Awesome. So how many Gen 4s are in place right now? Like how many have been out?
Man, over 200, I'd say almost 300 now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. It's encouraging, right? Because I think you guys are really changing the game for like indoor farming and indoor agriculture, and the ability that anybody can grow this fresh lettuce all year round anywhere they want. We talk about it all the time. Flux is in Pennsylvania right now, and a lot of our lettuce comes from California. And by the time that we're eating it, it's 3 weeks old, and then you have the carbon footprint with the tractor trailers driving it over here or shipping it here. So, even no joke, like tasting, eating the lettuce here right out of the ground or right out of the Flex farm, it tastes a lot better, to be honest with you, and it's a lot fresher, and you feel good about it. And you always talk about the nutrients that are still in that and things like that. So we really applaud your effort and the work that you guys are doing, and we're excited about how you're changing the game, and can't thank you enough for Flux to be a partner in it, and it's been good. It's been fun.
Well, that's like a great point, Ryan, and that's what I'd encourage any aspiring inventors to do, is to think about the problem first, right? There's so many entrepreneurs that start with what's a good business model that people will invest in, or what's a pretty product that people will think is nice to look at, right? But really the best innovators that I've tripped across over the years have been people that found a real problem that affects real people, and they work really hard to come up with real solutions to that problem that don't already exist. And I think that that's been really the core to our company's success, is really being able to say, yeah, we see a huge food problem. Everything you just outlined is really true. We see like so many, kids and people not not having access to really good, high quality, fresh food. Even people who shop at the grocery store, they're getting stuff, that only has 3 days of shelf life left, just like what you said, because it's shipped so long. Unacceptable. So how do we improve quality but decrease cost? And by breaking that mold, I think you're able to, like you said, do something a little disruptive and change things. And I think that, it just takes like the will to figure it out. At the end of the day, it was just an engineering problem, that you just had to solve. So.
No, that's great, man. And hey, we appreciate your time here and sharing the process that you went through. And I think it's a pretty cool story, and definitely could inspire those young inventors, thinkers, entrepreneurs out there to kind of think of something cool, believe in it, and keep trying at it. So, we appreciate that story, and thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man.